Hey guys, how we going? It is Black Rosette here. Some people have asked for a build, or my build, or just Vilsack guides in general. So I'm going to give you a brief rundown on my build, how I've built my Vilsack, why I've built up my Vilsack that way, and hopefully that gives some insight into your character development and the way that you build yours. So to start with, I'm going to jump into my gear. I'm running the normal attack Lost Shadow set. For this set, you need to specifically have gloves, trinket, hat, and bow. You need these specific slots because you need to be able to run this chest and these boots with the build. The reason for that is because once you use a repulsive arrow for the first time in a map, your normal attack damage is amplified. Same with the boots. When you use Swift Shadow Agility for the first time in a map or an instance, your normal attacks are amplified. So there's no other substitute for this build. If you're building a normal attack build, these are the items you want, and these are the places the items have to go. As far as the stats on your gear goes, on your offensive pieces, you're going to want as much normal attack as possible. Secondary is attack, if you can get attack on pieces of gear. Obviously something like this is what you want with 3 normal attack rolls. That's perfect. On my bow, I've only got 2, and then attack. If you can't get normal attack, attack is your second best thing. Extra damage and skill attack are going to do nothing for you. To my knowledge. To my knowledge, they're useless. Don't get them. They're not going to synergize with any of your skills. They don't synergize with any of your talent trees. There is just no synergy whatsoever. And if you're prioritizing those stats, you're going to have anti-synergy where you're just ruining your own build. As far as your stones go in your gear, yellow stones, use whatever yellow stones you want. Do not put filler material stats in them, please. There's no point. Do your hell. Do your hard shuttle, wait till you get 300 materials to craft your own legend stone, and then you can put in your filler materials. It's way too hard to find filler materials. The chances of getting the ones you want from fusing them is even harder. And when you do put your stones, or when you do put your filler materials into a stone, when you try to remove them from the mage NPC, she is going to delete almost 70% of the materials that you put into that stone. So just hoard them, wait till you get the stone that you want, and then put the legend materials in, and then you can just coast and be happy. For Vilsack, I specifically went with the blood crystal, simply because we inherently get a bonus 4% crit rate. My stats are very crit geared. Excuse me. So I went for this stone, obviously, over the normal attack one, just because who doesn't like to crit? And obviously when you want to crit, you want to do a lot of crit damage. This stone gives you 15% extra crit damage after you've crit 5 times. And pretty much when you're in a map and you're dealing damage, this is up 100% of the time. It lasts 5 seconds, it's on a 1 second cooldown, so you're constantly refreshing it. As far as your defensive stone goes, any of the stones that give you 200% of your max HP are good. All the rest, garbage. Don't bother. Now, let's go over the gems. Oh, also, by the way, just a quick note. On your second implicit stats on your pieces of gear, if you can get while attacking normal attack, amazing. Super good. Extra bonus. It's only going to amplify the damage that you do. I've got it on gloves. I've got it on chest. While attacking normal attack. Unfortunately, like it's very random what stats you're going to get on gear, so sometimes you're not always going to get it. Like on this piece of gear, I got amazing normal attack rolls, but I got while attacking skill attack 4%. Useless. Okay, let's talk about gems. I'm also going to cross over and go back and talk about stats as well, because they're all stats. So with my gear, I run crit, normal attack, I run a legend stone that amplifies normal attack damage, and I run armor piercing. It's pretty much identical for all my slots. So hat, legend stone, crit, normal attack, armor piercing. Same here. Here's different. I've got normal attack, legend stone, crit, and then attack. The reason why I have attack and not armor penetration is because I feel like I'm at a point where I have enough armor penetration where I don't have to use anymore. We'll go look at my stat screen in a second, but that's the reason why I don't have armor penetration here. Now, if you don't have legend stones, or you only have very few, using this as an example, if you didn't have a legend stone, instead of the legend stone, I would put in attack here. So have crit, normal attack, armor piercing, and just do that. Now, if you do have legend stones, unless you may not be aware, even though most of these legend stones give something of a similar effect, you can't have more than one of the same legend stone. They all have to be different. Otherwise, if I have 2 of these purgatory stones, only one of them is going to apply the effect. Because as it says here, the effect of the same legendary gem cannot be stacked up. Now, only 5 of my legend gems increase or give an amplification of normal attack or active skill. This one here, the forest crystal, amplifies your summon's damage. Now you're probably thinking, but Black, you don't need summoned because you do normal attack. Well, this is true, but in the skills here, our shadow arrow volley is a summon. It summons a shadow that fires a volley of arrows. So initially, what's doing all our damage is our summoned. So having summon bonus, I haven't played around with it too much, but as far as that stone goes, it works. And with the rest of the skills here, obviously, you're going to want the repulsive arrow for the legend gear chest piece to increase our amplification, and then the swift shadow agility, you're also going to want that to also boost your normal attack amplification damage. This slot doesn't matter. You can put whatever you want. Put in Trap Realm for now. Doesn't matter. These are the skills you want. The only skills you're really going to be using is your Swift Shadow to get around the map, your normal attack to reduce the cooldown of Arrow Volley, and then Arrow Volley is going to be 95% of your damage. Now, let's look at Talent Tree. So this is my Talent Tree build. Excuse me. Now, in my build, I've gone down most of the normal attack build stuff, and then I've ventured out into some other things. So let's talk about what I haven't gotten first. Now, what I haven't gotten is this, Swift Shadow Recovery. Gives you 2% HP recovery every time you use your dash ability. It's very minuscule. It's almost negligible. It's not worth having. If you're not running an Isadora as your second character for the lifesteal, maybe this is something you'd want to pick up, but I wouldn't recommend it. This skill here, Lingering Shadow, gives you 10% damage reduction when your HP is higher than 50%. Now that sounds good in essence, but honestly it's pretty shit for now. And the reason that is because monsters and bosses either one-shot you or two-shot you, or they just do no damage to you whatsoever. It's very in between, very far from in between, or whatever I'm trying to say. You get the point. You're either going to die or you're not. That 10% damage reduction is going to be negligible. So it's not worth the 3 points or the 5 points, or however much it is. Don't get it. This one here, I'm a bit half and half. I used to have it, now I don't have it, and I just don't have it for the fact that I just wanted more mobility. So this obviously reduces the tenacity of enemy units, just so you can stun them more, freeze them more, knock them back more, etc., etc. This can be really good if you're not that strong and you're having difficulty with bosses, because it can lock and stun them down. I haven't done any testing. I probably need to do some retesting. I can't remember if this doesn't work on certain bosses in like Infinite Abyss and stuff. I think some bosses are just immune to crowd control, or have a very high cap on how much they can be crowd controlled. I think there are some diminishing returns at play. I'm not sure. but it can be good. Now, what I've done here, I've gone for 3% crit rate, or not crit rate, hit rate, just because in some of the more difficult maps, you do miss. Hit rate is a thing. It's one of the stats that I can notice makes a change. And then the other thing I've done is I've gone for the Swift Shadow Gorilla. Now this just reduces your dash or your roll ability, whatever you want to call it, to 1 second. The whole reason you want that is because mobility is a godsend, because in this game, if you do not have mobility, you are as slow as a snail, and it honestly drives me nuts. If I respec out of this at some point, and then I played without it, and I wanted to throw my phone across the room because it's just so slow. You need to be able to dash on a 1 second cooldown to get to where you want to go, and to just zoom around the map and kill shit quick. Like, you need this. You have to have this. It's if you don't have this in your build, like, it is such a massive quality of life that you just need to have it. For our secondary, I use Isadora just because her team buffs. So this skill here, new team effect, these apply to all your characters. So when a character is your secondary, her team effects or his team effects will affect your main. If you did not know that, now you know. So she gives lifesteal, 5% poison damage, because obviously our main stat is poison, so that's what's going to happen. Read over these skills if you don't know them. And then soul power gives you life recovery, etc., etc. Now, that's the ideal secondary, I would probably say. Now, if you don't have Isadora and you're free to play, who do you go for then? Secondary would either be Bison or Rock. Bison gives 5% crit rate, which is really good. And he also gives... what was it? He gives you mana res. So, okay, I haven't used this one in a while. And he also gives you healing and move speed on your 4th skill. He can be good. And if you don't have Bison either and you're completely free to play, just go with Rock. Rock gives you damage reduction, physical armor and physical immunity, and he also gives you 5% normal attack damage, which is really nice. So if you don't have Isadora, if you don't have Bison, go for Rock. You'll get a little bit of extra damage out of him. You'll get some physical immunity for 2 seconds every now and then, and that's just a nice quality of life. Do not bother with Lena. Garbage. Bye. Alrighty, what else can we talk about now? Stats. Let's talk about stats. So these are my stats right here. So I have 6.4k attack, 25.5k normal damage. See my extra damage, really low, 2%. My crit is 614, which equates to, 12% crit, because you get 1% crit for every 50 points of crit you have. It says that right beside it. If you didn't know, you could pull out your stat screen. Now you do. So obviously I've got 5% crit. I got 4% from being Vilsack, and then I've got 1% from a costume piece. I think it's the head. So that's 5 plus 12, so that's 17. If I ever run Bison, it's like 21, 22% crit rate. Now, are these the stats you want? For me personally, I think they are. And you also notice my hit rate is 108%. The problem with this game is that stats and what they do are not that cut and clear. I know there is a description screen to the left here, which gives a brief description of what they do, but it's very shady on what exactly they do. So like, let's look at armor penetration here. Fixed value 1546. Is 50 armor penetration 1%? Is it the same as the crit in how it converts? I'm not sure. No idea. You notice my armor piercing percentage is 61%. That comes specifically from costumes and those gems that I showed you earlier. Is armor piercing good? I don't know. I feel like it eventually will be good or is good, but it's so hard to tell because you don't know how much armor a boss has, and it's really hard to test. because even the training dummies have no armor, or at least some of the ones I've tested on. I'd have to check on the higher ones, but it's too hard to tell because you've got so many numbers flying across the screen. There's so much RNG on what numbers you're going to pull when you hit something, so it's just so hard to tell. But going from my experience in other MMORPGs and other games similar to this, such as Diablo, PoE, I feel like you can never go wrong with crit and armor penetration. That's just always a staple bread and butter skill that always just seems to do well. So that's what I've gone with. Alrighty, I don't think there's anything else we need to talk about in here. Armor, all your defensive stats will just come as you grow. You can't really aim for them. Alrighty, talked about gear, talked about skills. Costumes, not really much to talk about costumes. The only thing I would say is if you ever get a chest piece, when you do your appraisal and you're picking your stats, make sure you go for your poison attack, because 3+ poison attack equals 3% poison damage amplification. Now, if you're asking me, why are you talking about poison damage? We do normal attack. Well, if you didn't already know, all our skills are a mixture of both. So if you look at volley here, up here in the top, we do physical and poison. Physical stat and poison damage. Now, I'm not sure what the percentage is on how much we do of each. I'm not sure if we do 75% physical damage with 25% poison, or if it's 50-50 down the middle, but all our skills do a mixture of physical and poison. That's just, I'm pretty sure just our basic normal attack could just be physical. It's hard to say. Who knows? But if you do that, now you know. Alrighty. We're just going to do a basic rundown in the trials just to show you the attack order and just your general playstyle when you're doing like a map or a dungeon. It's a very simple rotation. There's not much to it, and there's not a lot of variation you can do. So it's pretty much a one-all fit-all. Alrighty, so once you zone into a map or an instance or a timed boss, this is what you're going to want to do. The first thing you want to do is use your repulsive arrow. That's going to amplify your normal attack. It should amplify it for the rest of that instance. It says you only have to cast it once. I believe that might be the icon above my head. And then once you use your swift agility, that also increases your normal attack. So those are coming from your legendary boots and your legendary chest. Can I confirm that 100% that it doesn't fall off? No, but who knows? That's how it should work. And then after you've done that, once you're at a boss, you're going to want to use your bow's active skill. Increases your damage by 6%, which is this one right here. It's on a 60-second cooldown. And then your rotation is simply volley plus normal attack. And then your normal attack will reduce the cooldown of your volley. And that's the build in a nutshell. So 95% of your damage comes from that volley. Your auto attack, it's going to do decent damage against normal mobs, teal mobs, like your rares and elites. Elites, not so much. You're still going to need your volley. And for bosses and elites, etc., like just for pretty much all your content, your volley is your main damage. Your normal attack is just there to assist your volley. Alrighty, so the most common way to get gear is obviously from your Demon Land and from Hayden the Jester. Now, when you are rolling from Hayden the Jester, for the purpose of this build, you need weapon, head, gloves, and trinket. Now, obviously you notice your weapon costs almost double any of the other item slots. So when you are rolling for your Lost Shadow set, never roll for the bow. Don't do it. Just don't. You're going to burn through all your gold and you're going to hate yourself for it. Don't do it. It's against the rules. It's law. Do not roll for your bow. Do not roll for your weapon. Always roll for your other smaller pieces first because it costs half the amount. Now, the reason why you don't roll for the bow is because you can just craft the bow. You might not be able to do it straight away, but eventually you will. And that's how you're going to make it. It only costs 355 Crimsonite chips. As you progress in the game, you're going to pick that up very easily. Eventually, you're going to be able to fuse those chips into a bar and make a full Crimsonite to craft your superior sets. So the first thing you should be crafting from your workbench is your bow, because it's going to be the hardest to get, typically from Jester. Obviously in Demonland it's random, but if you've got the materials, craft the bow, do your gold spends on Jester for your other pieces, and then eventually whatever is missing, craft that as well. And then if you don't get the stats that you want, once you get enough materials, just craft another one, and hopefully you'll get a better roll. So please do not spend all your gold on Jester trying to get the weapon. You're just going to have a bad day. Now, the only other really thing to talk about is your pets, but it doesn't really matter. Just put in the best pets you have. The stats on these I don't think even work properly. Like when you put this pet and deploy it, you do not get 3500 attack. You seem to only get the basic attack, because if we look at our deployed pets, which mine aren't anything flash, pretty average I think, when you go to your bonus, that's what you get. It's pretty shit. To be honest, it's really not a great deal. It's not gonna, you're pretty much splitting hairs at this point when you look at your overall stats. And that's pretty much it. That's all I've got for Vilsack. That's all there really is to it anyway, at least with the normal attack build. Now, if you're watching this because you're deciding on a class to play and you're looking at the guide, my advice to you at the moment, in the current state of the game, if you haven't invested in anything yet and you've got the other characters, just re-roll, make a bison. You're going to get more bang for your buck as far as stat values and set bonuses go, and the damage that you can produce and the progression that you can make. Don't get me wrong, Vilsacks are amazing. I love the animations. I love the bow and the skills and just your typical ranger play. But unless you've got someone tanking for you, you're essentially always tanking yourself anyway with a bow and getting smacked in the face, and you don't get that proper ranger play style that you would expect from other MMOs. But that's just my 2 cents. And if you look on the leaderboard, it is currently dominated by predominantly bisons. Every now and then you get the Odolina, but it is very much a bison game. Pretty sure this guy's a cheater. But yeah, and that's it. That's my guide. Enjoy.